who really didn't show me a whole lot. But all in all, it was a great first weekend in the National Football League, and we still got some more to go tonight.
I know, and tonight's a big one, obviously. 49ers Jets, Aaron Rodgers back on Monday Night Football. Can't wait for the game tonight. But great week one. So many entertaining games, so many close games. Some heartbreak along the way for me as well.
Oh, you don't say. I didn't notice as a Packer fan what you did to your team.
I didn't do anything, and I will provide the evidence later. But yeah, great week one, guys. We are so back. I'm very tired, but we are so back.
All right, let's get into this because you heard there in the clips, like, coming in, we all thought that the Dak Prescott contract, once it didn't get done this offseason, once CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott did not get done until the last minute, that maybe possibly Dak was not going to get done at all, because maybe possibly what the Dallas Cowboys were going to do and what Dak Prescott was going to do was going to be something unprecedented, where we saw a top 10 quarterback in this league potentially hit free agency. But moments before their dominant victory over the Cleveland Browns, Dak Prescott, it was reported and announced by Adam Schefter, of course, initially and first, signs a 4-year, $240 million contract extension with the Dallas Cowboys, $231 million guaranteed, and it happened moments before kickoff, meaning they didn't adjust the salary earlier in the offseason to use the money for this offseason, but Dak is going to be there for the long haul. CeCe, are you surprised by this?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, Dan Graziano kind of tipped the Cowboys' hand a little bit last week when he says that it's on the table for them to be able to work out a contract extension. And as far as the numbers go, it's exactly what we thought it would be. It would be $60 million a year and the most guaranteed money ever doled out to a player in the history of the National Football League. So credit for the Cowboys front office not getting in their own way and not drawing out the drama by getting this done. But the lion's share of the kudos should go to Dak Prescott and his team, because Dak Prescott understood that if he allowed his impending free agency to loom over this team, it could potentially undermine the potential of the Dallas Cowboys in 2024. And so I give a ton of credit to Dak for putting this to bed. Now they can just focus on the task at hand, which is trying to do everything that they can to get back to the postseason and to go on a deep playoff run.
I was furious when this headline came across, because if Jerry Jones likes to be relevant and he likes to be in the headlines, then I wanted the ultimate payoff. I wanted this season to play out with the drama. I wanted Dak to have a great season. I wanted him to end the season with all of the power and control, and for us to see how this actually would play out. And that's the problem when you want to be relevant, when your goal in a lot of ways is to be in the headlines, is that's what we expect. I want the conclusion. I felt like I was watching a movie and then the ending was a dud. And I just wondered if all along you were going to give CeeDee Lamb his money and all along you were going to give Dak his money. What's the point of dragging it out? What's the point of waiting until right before the first game in order to get this done with your franchise quarterback? I agree that it was the right move. Dak has earned this money, and the Dallas Cowboys need a franchise quarterback, and they are in the best position to win a Super Bowl with Dak under center. There's no question about either of those things. But the way in which this all played out, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me that it gets done before the regular season starts. He gets his money, and there's actually no drama. He played us. Jerry played us in a lot of ways. He made us talk about this. He got all of the exposure that he wanted, and in the end, he paid his quarterback.
Yeah, I'm pretty mad at myself on this, honestly. I fall in line kind of where you are on this, Smalls. Like, this is infuriating looking back on it, because I fell for this hook, line, and sinker.
Me too.
I thought, you know what? This is truly a conversation and a negotiation, and Dak Prescott has all of the leverage and the power here, and he's looking at the landscape of other teams around the league and thinks maybe the grass could be greener somewhere else. And the reality is he never actually thought that. And I'm not suggesting that the Dallas Cowboys don't have green grass when you're the quarterback of that team, but I am done. I am done ever worrying about Dallas Cowboys contracts. Done. I'm actually done maybe worrying about anybody's contracts in the NFL. Every one of them, unless you're a Jet, of course, always gets done. I mean, seriously, every one of them. CeCe, we laugh about this, but I feel like the last 3, 4, 5 months were a waste of our time in that we focused on all of these things. And I get it. Talking about Dak's contract is also a way of talking about Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott and other teams around the league and where they stand at the quarterback position. I totally get it. I understand it. But Jerry Jones has proven time time after time after time, he cares about the headlines and being in them more than anything else. Does Dak Prescott give you the best chance of winning as a Dallas Cowboy fan? Absolutely. Did the timing of Dak Prescott's contract give you the best chance of winning? No, it did not. Side note, I love Eric Kendricks and Ezekiel Elliott for them, who are both really good, especially Kendricks against the awful Browns quarterback play yesterday. But the reality is, I got to stop personally ever thinking that there's a real conversation, because Jerry's just going to get it done. As soon as the headlines run out, that's when he's going to get it done.
Well, here's the thing. I'll push back on whether or not the contract actually helps the Dallas Cowboys get better. I think it does. I think it does. As far as chemistry goes, as far as avoiding distractions, I think that's of the utmost importance, especially after how last season ended, where DeMarcus Lawrence, one of their team leaders, said that they were too burned out as a team to get ready for a playoff game and a playoff-style intensity that they were facing against the Green Bay Packers. So I think it's important that this team, this organization, try to eliminate as many distractions as they possibly can. So getting the CeeDee Lamb deal done and getting the Dak Prescott deal done before the start of the regular season, I thought was important in terms of this team getting to where they want to go. But taking that next step, Ev, now that you've done that with your core players, locking those guys up, Jerry Jones has one more piece of business to do before we get into the heart of the schedule, before we get into the heart of the season, and that's addressing the contract of the head coach. If the quarterback and the wide receiver have played well enough over the last several years to earn contract extensions, well, damn it, Mike McCarthy deserves a contract extension too. I know.
Standing ovation without me standing.
No, I know that the Cowboys haven't had things end in the playoffs the way they want them to. But you cannot take away the fact that Mike McCarthy has led this team to 3 straight 12-win seasons. Like, they are only second to the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of regular season wins over the last 3 years. That needs to be rewarded. And beyond that, you need to avoid the distraction or the conversation that would be looming for the Cowboys every time they lose a game, every time there's a coaching gaffe, like the one we saw by Mike McCarthy at the end of the first half when they're trying to position themselves for a field goal. He ends up taking a delay of game penalty. Every time something like that happens, the first thing that we're going to do is talk about the potential replacements for Mike McCarthy in Dallas. We're not having that conversation if Jerry Jones decides to give Mike McCarthy a contract extension. It's one that makes sense. Obviously, Mike McCarthy has brought out the best version of Dak Prescott in that offense. And so to me, Dak Prescott's deal getting done is the headline, but it also should be a prelude to Mike McCarthy getting a contract extension as well.
Could not agree more, CC. You can't elevate Dak in this way without acknowledging that Mike McCarthy's been a huge part of his success. However, what happens if the Dallas Cowboys yet again do not make it out of the divisional round or something even worse? I feel like there needs to be an element here, where someone can be held accountable, or there's the idea that someone could be held accountable for this. Because I don't know if ultimately Jerry would move on from Mike McCarthy, but the fact that there would be that option, or that illusion that he is considering that this is not enough and that someone needs to be held accountable. If you lock up Mike McCarthy and yet again the Dallas Cowboys have the same fate to end their season, I don't know how Jerry can put on airs that he's going to make changes or that something has to be altered with the state of the Dallas Cowboys if Mike McCarthy gets that contract extension.
While that is completely fair, I will look at it this way and say, find me a head coach, unless outside of Bill Belichick, that you could look at and say that head coach can get more out of Dak Prescott than Mike McCarthy could. There isn't one.
Oh, I'm with you.
Right. So if you're going to give him $60 million a season, you better have the best coach alongside of him, right? Like we talked about, it's the same kind of thing with less success overall with Tua and Mike McDaniel. That's the coach that's going to get the most out of him. So if you're going to give the quarterback the extension, keep the coach with him. Because what could possibly happen is, like Smalls, you said, and it's a great thought, and they won last night in overtime, you said if it's not McCarthy, maybe it's Ben Johnson, Lions offensive coordinator, the guy. There's no guarantee that Ben Johnson does better with Dak than Mike McCarthy would. And I mean, think about what they did yesterday. I mean, they just surgically destroyed a great defense in the Cleveland Browns, and we'll get to Watson, who was absolutely atrocious. But I mean, CC nailed it 1,000%. It should be played over and over and over again all day here on ESPN Radio. If you're going to do this for Dak, do it for McCarthy. If you're going to try to eliminate this conversation during the season, you don't eliminate it in full when you have a lame duck head coach. And I promise you, even if Jerry Jones wants to get rid of him after this season, you could still extend him and eat the money if need be, Jerry Jones. That's not going to be a difficult thing for him to do. All right, there's a lot more to get to with week one. I mean, one of the Sunday NFL Countdown, Greeny's debut, he was great yesterday. Schefter was dominating with all the news when it, like, think about it. The Dak extension, Kendrick Lamar at halftime. What in the world happened with Tyreek Hill, which we will get to coming up. There is so much to discuss with week one in the NFL. A Jaguars meltdown, obviously, against the Dolphins. Did I mention the Browns quarterback being horrific? Don't worry, CC. I avoided your team, the Giants.
Browns to the Super Bowl. That's what I heard from Evan Cohen.
How are we feeling about that take, Ev?
Like Tom Petty said, I won't back down. I'm trying here, guys. Here's what I'll try even harder with, and that is La Quinta. When you're on a business trip, you know what goes completely off the rails?